Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Jose. What a wonderful presentation. Also, Charlene, I can see that you both have the same advice, which is to find your passion. I'm very happy to introduce Veronica. She's also a mentor at Ekpapalek, and I'm very happy with the story that she's gonna tell because she is the clear example of how thinking differently and using entrepreneurship can really help not only you, but your community to develop further. Veronica is doing currently a PhD at the School of Environment and Sustainability at the University of Saskatchewan. I'm so sorry, I cannot pronounce it. She holds a Master in Social and Environmental Studies at Flaxo, Ecuador. She also has a Bachelor in Tourism Management at the Universidad Tecnológica Equinoccial. She also has 10 years of experience working with rural and indigenous communities and empowerment projects related to sustainability, gender, fair trade, agroecology, and community-based tourism. Her 4 years of teaching experience also add up to her CV, and she is the founder of Lindo Lindo and co-creative Turismo Entrepreneurship, and she will tell us much more about it in her presentation. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Clarissa.
Hi.
Veronica, back to you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and thanks for this introduction. I want to start my presentation recognizing the incredible work that indigenous women farmers do in the Global South countries in order to keep the traditional food systems and cultural heritage among their families, communities, and future generations. I recognize them because I belong to a rural farming community in Ecuador, and I'm got inspired by them to study my PhD in environment and sustainability and to start my own entrepreneurships. In this slide, I want to tell you briefly why I decided to study a PhD abroad. Actually, there were several reasons that motivated me to come to study my PhD in Canada, but I will share here the most important ones. First, I am in the field of the social science. I've been always very critical from where and who is creating the knowledge to understand and to give solutions to the Global South countries' problems, also known as developing countries of the third world. From my experience, when I studied my bachelor in tourism management in Ecuador, all the academic knowledge that I learned came from authors and institutions in the global north countries. So I decided that I want to create academic knowledge in my field, sustainable tourism, in a contextual way. Sorry, can you return to the other slide, please? Thank you. Well, and my second reason, I'm always passionate about research in sustainable tourism and communities empowerment topics. The third reason is related to the emergency to improve the education in Ecuador and the need for professionals with a PhD degrees to contribute for knowledge creation in Ecuador. And the fourth one, why not? I belong to a family that suffered poverty and lack of opportunities, especially the women in my family. Before me, nobody in my family had the opportunity to attend the university, neither study a master. We didn't know what a PhD degree means. And I have to highlight that despite my dad and my mom didn't have the opportunity to go to school, they've always worked hard to help me and my brother and my sister to support and to complete our dreams. They have been always entrepreneurs, and I think that I got this from them. Now, please, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. Well, after telling you the main reasons that motivate me to study a PhD degree in Canada, I want to tell you the main challenges and issues that I have to overcome to achieve this dream. By 2014, I decided I want to study a PhD to develop my research on the relationship between indigenous people, traditional food, and tourism. I applied with this topic to several universities, and I got accepted in 4 of them, 3 in the UK and 1 in Canada. Despite my research topic was interesting for them, my English level was not good enough to be considered for any scholarship from these universities. They recommend me to travel to these countries to take courses in academic English in order to improve the language. This means that I had to pay my language studies there. In the case of the UK, this was impossible because it was very expensive for me, but I still had the option in Canada. It's important that I have to mention that I have the alternative to apply to the Ecuadorian government scholarship agency that offers scholarships which include language studies. But in that year, 2014, this agency decided to stop funding postgraduate studies in areas related to social science, where I was, well, summarizing. I had a dream. I got accepted in these universities because my research topic was interesting, but I didn't have any scholarship options because my English level was not good enough. So I looked for my plan B. I used all my savings and got 2 bank loans in order to get enough funds to get my student visa approved. Once in Canada, I applied for several scholarships, but I got rejected from all of them. I realized that maybe the focus of my research is affecting because my case study is in Ecuador and not in Canada. And actually, I was tempted to change my research and do something about Canada, but I told myself, Veronica, your dream is not only to get a PhD degree, it is also about creating knowledge that will benefit my people in Ecuador. Well, later, because of my good standing and high scores in the courses that I was taking during my PhD studies, my department, the School of Environment and Sustainability, provide me with a scholarship that helps me to pay my tuition. However, I still need to fund my life expenses and funds for my research. Here is where my entrepreneur ideas came. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So my first alternative to get additional incomes actually was to find a part-time job, but most of them required at least 20 hours, which is not good for my studies progress. Additionally, the available part-time jobs that I found were not related to my field. For this reason, I took the decision to start my own business and connect them to my academic interests. That is how Lindo Lindo and co-creative tourism came to light. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. Well, I created Lindo Lindo, which is a business focused on the cacao and chocolate tradition of Ecuador and community empowerment. My fiance and I made this chocolate here in Saskatoon, in Canada, and we sell this at farmers market and some organic stores in the city. I also sell handcrafts made by communities that I worked before in Ecuador under fair trade principles. And using online tools, we communicate and we design together with these communities the products that I want to sell. And we are also always trying to connect them with this chocolate tradition. Can we go to my next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, my other entrepreneurship is more academic. Actually, it started as a blog where I share my thoughts and updates about my research. This blog is in Spanish and allows me to connect with several stakeholders interested in my topic in Ecuador and other countries in Latin America. Actually, some professionals and institutions have required my services to teach online courses in topics related to sustainable tourism and research methodologies. I love this project because I can share my research in Spanish and also I can get some funds for my studies here in Canada. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? Can we go there? Thank you. Okay, based on my experience, I want to share here some learnings about being an entrepreneur while doing your studies abroad. These ideas that I'm sharing here also came from Kiela Caudillo, an incredible woman from Mexico who did her master in the same university as me. She had a similar experience studying a postgraduate and being an entrepreneur. Well, here are some of the factors that I think you have to consider if you want to do something like I did. Be disciplined, especially in managing your time between your studies and your business. Be able to have multitask skills, self-motivation, innovation, passions, responsibility, support system. I will stop here. What is the support system? It means care about your family and friends relationships. In my case, my family in Ecuador, my fiancé here support me a lot and have kept me to be motivated with my studies and with my business. And finally, this is especially for people from developing countries studying in developed countries. Be proud of who you are and where you come from. Believe me, if I have to say what has been my main success factors so far is this. I've been always be proud of being a Latina woman and being from Ecuador. Can we go to the next slide, please? Well, some of the positive outcomes that I have with this experience, funding my research, I had opportunities to get involved in the local community, especially at farmers market, get connected with people. That has been awesome for me. I'm always promoting my home country, Ecuador. I overcome compassion levels in fair trade to empower and strength. And I think this is very important. Being an entrepreneur has helped me to improve my English and oral communication skills. Selling my products has been an incredible tool to improve my English and feeling more confident talking in front of people. In the next slide, please. Can we go to the next? Thank you. Well, I had some challenges too in combining studies and being an entrepreneur. First, managing time between studies and work has been hard. Sometimes I have to stop and say, hey, Veronica, what are your priorities in some periods? And also, sometimes it's necessary to establish clear barriers between your studies, your family, and your business. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. To finish, I would like to share with you what are my future goals and dreams that I have. Well, I want to finish this PhD degree and create my own consultant organization in sustainable tourism. I want to continue developing the co-creative research spaces among scholars, practitioners, and students, especially in Latin America, through this blog that I told you before. I want to expand my fair trade and organic business to continue supporting my community partners to sell their products here or everywhere in the world. And this one will be maybe crazy, but every time I get rejected a scholarship and start growing and growing this dream. I want to create a scholarship or bursary for women in the rural areas for formal or non-formal education in topics related to sustainable farming and sustainable tourism. I hope I can do this through my business or through my consultant business later in the future. And yes, the last slide is basically say thanks, gracias in Spanish, for attending to this presentation. Thank you.